My name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. I live at 3102 Central Hill Road, Acre, Mississippi, 38841. I am still under attack by Scientologists. So let me explain what Scientology is. There are more than three dimensions. This is a fact. There are 12 dimensions in total. These dimensions reside within us, on the inside of the universe. It looks like inward expansion. Scientologists call this place the inverse, or the four corners, outer space. We have biology in this other place, in these extra dimensions. 12 dimensions worth of biology, extra dimensional organs and tissues that you can't see while you are alive. The human genome produces a 12-dimensional humanoid designed to live in outer space, in the afterlife. We can fly. We have a head covering with two horns. Our skin glows and our eyes glow, and we can even breathe fire. We can even do magic. We can move particles around with our mind. And we have a whole plethora of extra dimensional organs and tissues, body parts that we utilize to survive in outer space. Like we have a soul tube. It's a sexual organ that goes up into your brain. It starts in your gonad region. It merges with your sexual organs, and it's a tube, and it goes up into your brain. And there's a some neurological tissue that sits on top of it, and it merges into your brain tissue. We have an extra piece of brain tissue that sits on our frontal lobe that grows out of our forehead and turns into horns. We have extra brain stems. We have like three brain stems. So we have a whole plethora of extra dimensional organs and tissues that we use in the afterlife. We also use them while we are alive. Humans don't know this, but we use this extra dimensional biology while we are alive to process information, to think, to consume, to eat, to process energy, to have sexual intercourse, to sleep, and a whole host of other abilities and biological functions that we use this extra dimensional biology for. So the human genome produces an Anunnaki. That is our bloodline and the human afterlife experience. We are spacefaring organisms with horns on our head in the afterlife. We are Anunnaki. So Scientology is the practice of utilizing this extra dimensional biology before they die. They remove it from themselves, and they use technology and techniques to turn them into upper dimensional vehicles, biologies in which they can drive through the upper dimensions, also known as aliens, and they look alien in appearance. So, during the Scientology process, when these people are creating their alien forms, they like to remove the extra dimensions from themselves, and they like to cleave themselves every three dimensions, and they wind up with three or four biologies in the upper dimensions in which they can convert into alien forms and drive them around. So these biologies are incomplete during this process. They are lacking organs and tissues that have to be left behind in the origin biology so it can continue to function properly. So they take organs and tissues from other humans and other species such as reptiles, insects, and worms to complete their alien forms. They make various alien types. There are blue bloods, green aliens, gray aliens, browns, whites, squid people, which is just a head on an octopus body. They also make lizard people using lizard body parts. Like they take the fourth through seventh part of their biology and put the 8th through 12th top of a lizard person on top of it and drive that around. They make insectoids or bug people using bug body parts, and they make worm people using worm body parts. So a large percentage of these Scientologists have become criminal. First off, they body snatch. They take organs and tissues from other humans and other species to complete their alien forms and also to create surrogates. So this technology gives them the ability to drive other organisms that are not their own. They can drive humans, animals, insects, and worms in any dimension. They like to take the extra dimensions off humans and other species, especially lizards and bugs and worms, and convert these biologies into a biology in which they can drive, in which they can control. They call these organisms surrogates. So first off, they body snatch, biological theft. They take organs and tissues from the human race and other species. Second, they are forcing assimilation upon all of our institutions. So if you have a job position in which they desire to control, say you're an agent in the government, a CIA agent, FBI agent, a local policeman, even politicians and the military personnel, a lot of people have been forced to assimilate. Even the civilian side, if you have a business they want to control, or if you make a lot of money, if you're rich, or say you own a marketing company or an internet company, a social media company, you may get forced to assimilate so they can control you. Which means either they force you to practice Scientology or they force you into a hive mind, which is telepathy. It also comes with their technology, which I'll explain in a moment. But they have telepathy in the upper dimensions. Even third dimensional humans can read each other's thoughts, our inner voices. We have inner voices. And we use them to communicate with each other. So they think they can take anybody they want to. If something don't work out and you don't handle assimilation well, or maybe they don't want you to assimilate, they may turn you into a surrogate. So they can drive you themselves or try to control your behavior in some way. And they do this with technology, which I'll explain in a moment. Third, criminal activity is rampant among these people. They traffic humans, both for sexual purposes and for organ donations. They rape people. They torture people, dissect, experiment on humans and other species. They steal identities, identity fraud. They take things from people. They read people's thoughts and steal intellectual property and ideas. And they even murder people. And they do this a lot. The Scientology community is known for making people disappear or murdering people. People die or act crazy, which I'll explain in a moment. So Scientologists do all this using technology. First, I had to explain the entanglement property of the matter in our universe. So all matter in the universe, including ourselves, are entangled to our extra dimensions. It appears that the particles that we consist of are 12-dimensional particles, and the electron shells in our atoms travel around the entire 12 dimensions, and they make a perfect circle no matter what. So if the extra dimensions of a particle, say a body part, say our biology, if the extra dimensions are removed, no matter where you take it in the universe, you are still in that biology. What happens is, as the body part leaves you, space-time in between you and the body part warps to zero. It shrinks to zero. It's like it gets out of the way. So the electron shell can make a perfect circle, can continue to make perfect circles. That's what I have observed. From what I have observed, it appears that the electron shell cannot be moved. It cannot be messed with. They use this entanglement property in some of their practices. So they have facilities on Earth that house body parts. They like to remove extra dimensional biology from themselves and from the public, people that are unaware. And they take it to these facilities, these remote locations, and they put them in a storage system. They have shelves, boxes, tanks, and inside of the storage system, they interface this biology to a computer system. They run electrodes inside of your brain, put sensors and chips and devices inside of your brain and central nervous system, and it interfaces you to this computer system. From there, they can communicate with each other. So telepathy is offered in this with this technology, so the users can communicate with each other in a digital landscape and interact with each other. And these facilities also act as a command center, so they can drive the rest of their biologies, so they can drive their alien forms and their surrogates. And they also have technology that interfaces to our origin biology, to our third dimensional biology on Earth, down here in the third dimension. They have devices, sensors, uh, electrodes, devices, chips that they interface to our brain and central nervous system. Some of this technology is sensory perception recording technology. It records sensory perception inputs such as sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing, and it relays this information to a computer system. And it also is another way for telepathy and for controlling dreams and driving extra dimensional biologies. It's another form of their technology. And some of this technology artificially stimulates brain and central nervous system tissue. So they can isolate individual memories and individual neurons and stimulate this area of the brain. They can stimulate thought patterns. They can make you experience a thought pattern. They can make you experience a memory that you've once had. They can stimulate emotions like joy, happiness, sadness. They can make you cry. And they can even have sexual intercourse using this technology. So they put devices on their sexual organs and they are able to have sexual intercourse with each other from a remote location. And then this technology stimulates neurons and glands. And this causes something to happen. It elevates neurochemicals such as dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. And it elevates hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, and growth hormone. It has an extremely narcotic like effect upon the user. And this is the reason why there is so much criminal activity within the Scientology community. This technology is acting as a narcotic to these people. Plus, they are conditioned to cut body parts off of organisms. They're conditioned to do this. They're conditioned to take over people's lives whenever they force assimilation upon people. Yes, especially the government and rich people. They're conditioned to do this. They take over the lives of people. If they have a problem or something on Earth, they force assimilation or they take biology to their facilities and try to control you that way. At least they can read your thoughts so they can act accordingly to what you plan to do. Say you're a government agent looking into the field of Scientology at their criminal activity. They may force you to assimilate or they may steal brain tissue and take it to their facilities or install devices which allows them to read your thoughts and invade your privacy, see into your environment so they can act accordingly. So My experience with Scientology started about 14 years ago. I was a political activist on social media. I participated in politics a lot. I had a lot of debates about politicians, laws, environmental issues, war, so on and so forth. Also had a lot of debates about religion, how I'm agnostic and an atheist, and I still am, even though I have all this knowledge about the afterlife and about heaven. And I'm also an author. So I'm part Native American. I am part Lakota and a part Caucasian. I'm a hybrid. I'm also an author. I write literature and come up with ideas, and I help other people come up with ideas too. And I help them achieve goals and come up with ideas in their fields of expertise, so they can make money or, uh, you know, capitalize or even have fun. It's what I like to do. It's something I like to do. Think tanks and uh, discussing other people's professions and ideas and literature and politics. And I'm also a tool and die maker. So I make tools and dies for a living. And at that time, 14 years ago, I was a tool maker for a munitions company. We made less lethal munitions like tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, sandbag bullets, uh, illumination flares. We even made deterrence flares. The flares that go in fighter jets, B 52s, and F 16s, they go inside of these jets. And whenever there's a heat seeking missile coming towards these jets, they shoot out these flares out the back of the airplane, and it intercepts the missiles and keeps the missile from making contact with the plane. They're called deterrence flares. I made the cans for those. And I also made live munitions. So I made munitions or lethal munitions. I made munitions for uh, 30 and 40 millimeter grenade launchers, live rounds, all different types of rounds for grenade launchers. Uh, and I also made machine gun parts. So I made parts for the M16 machine guns. So that was my trade at the time, my profession. Well, some people found me on social media participating in politics and discussing my field of expertise and my work, sharing pictures, and then writing literature, participating in politics, having debates. I'm a Class A personality. I got a lot done. I had a large following. I got some stuff done in politics. I persuaded votes and persuaded issues on laws. They're assaulting my animal at the moment. And then one day, some Scientologists decided to assimilate me. They decided to put technology inside of my brain, and they probably stole extra dimensional biology and took it to their facilities. It became apparent that people were invading my privacy, my mind space. They could see into my environment. And they were communicating with me with these platforms, Facebook, internet ads, a lot of subliminal communication. And even then, it was direct contact. And I could even hear voices coming out of the radio. I think they even used some kind of technology to communicate with me through my digital devices, such as radios, televisions, cell phones. And I told them to get away from me. I did not accept their advances. First off, I have social anxiety. I can't be in the presence of another human being for very long. Under certain circumstances and under the right settings, I can handle interactions with other human beings. But for the most part, I can't. I stove up, I get anxiety, stresses me out. I have PTSD. And second of all, I was working in a classified environment, making weapons and munitions for the military, the Department of Justice, and even the public. I couldn't have people invading my privacy. It was classified technology I was working on, classified uh, employment. So then the government came and they assimilated me into the hive mind. They either took body parts or they installed devices. I started hearing voices and seeing things. They told me they had found a device in my brain, and that's about all they said. But a lot of people in this hive mind, a lot of these Scientologists involved are hostile. They started harassing me right off the bat. Some of them started talking crap about the debates I had about religion, how I didn't believe in God, and how that was wrong, and they know who God is. And then some of these people were just plain hostile. They started harassing me, berating me, and in the hive, my technology was turned off. But it was left one way. They could hear my thoughts, they could read my mind, and see into my environment, but I could no longer see them or hear their thoughts. And it wasn't long after that I became sick. I could feel things stuck inside of my ear, my face, my head, and my whole head swelled up. I got a lazy eye, a bad lazy eye. I started going to the doctor, the hospital, to get x-rays done to try to find out what was going on. I was afraid I either had cancer or I'm very intuitive. I knew something was messing with me because of my experiences and what I felt. So upon first contact, I felt body, uh, weird body sensations and pains, like they assaulted my eyes. They either stuck something in my eyes or cut out eye tissue, and it messes with your brain, the way that we think, our emotions. I knew something was going on. By logical deduction, I feared that somebody had put something in my body that had something to do with this technology that I was experiencing. Then people in the world started stealing intellectual property. The things I was studying and working on and my ideas, other people started writing about them. Uh, Magazine articles, authors, bloggers, uh, especially on social media and internet ads, and people when their day-to-day activities, they were using my works, my studies in science and philosophy, and my literature for themselves. So this went on for a long time, and a lot of people in the world harassed me, especially on social media, the internet, through the radio DJs. They would poke fun at me and pick on me, and they would use the information from my environment to do so. So they were invading my privacy and using this information to harass me. And then one day, the technology turned back on. So they turned the hive mind technology back on. I started to see things and hear voices again. And then they started taking body parts. So what I learned was it became so lucrative to read my mind that they started selling seats or allowing other Scientologists to invade my mind space, to read my thoughts, and to see into my environment, to steal ideas. And they became so attracted to this behavior that they wanted the biology that goes with it. So Scientologists steal body parts from people for transplants to complete their alien forms and for surrogate making purposes. And they wanted my body parts. They see me as a superior human being, someone with high intelligence and a very healthy biology, someone that functions very well. I was fit, I was healthy, I thought well. I had a good life. I was very full of joy, full of energy. I studied a lot. I like to study. So they started removing biology, specifically brain tissue. And they made me watch them use it for transplant purposes and for surrogate making purposes. So the first thing that they did was they took brain tissue off the front of my head and they made a lizard person out of it and a squid person and who knows what all. Then they took even more biology. They took my chest cavity and my heart muscle and my lungs to use for transplants and for surrogate making purposes. Then things got dark. I yelled at them every day, leave me alone. They filled me full of worms, parasite surrogates, big worms with teeth. They drove being driven through my biology and utilized as a weapon. And they assaulted me with these worms over and over again. My brain tissue, my organ tissue. They cut off my lungs. So Anunnakis in the afterlife, we have a double set of lungs. We have a lungs on the front of our body and then lungs on the back of our body. We have two sets of lungs. So the second set is an extra dimensional biology. We have extra lung tissue in the upper dimensions. We use it to survive in outer space and to fly and do magic. And so we use it to function in the afterlife. And even we use it to function while we are alive. They cut off my lungs. They cut out my heart. So our heart pokes out of our back in the extra dimensions. Our heart gets very big in the upper dimensions. We have a lot of extra dimensional tissue on our heart. They cut the back of my heart out and cut nerves out. They got infatuated with my nerves. They started cutting my nerves, slicing it. And they took brain tissue and drove worms to my brain. And they took more and more brain tissue and more brain tissue. And then it turned into a snuff film. So these people are hostile. And they think they can take anybody they want. They think they can force assimilation upon anybody. They think they can take a surrogate from anybody. They've been telling me, and from what I've seen, they have taken surrogates in all of our government institutions. They have taken surrogates in the FBI, the Department of Justice, especially local police officers. They have taken surrogates in the CIA, and they have taken surrogates in the military. They force assimilation, they take surrogates, or they take body parts so they can read your thoughts. They install technology, and they are conditioned to hurt people. They're conditioned this way. So they're conditioned to cut body parts off of people. They're conditioned to take over people's lives. It's akin to kidnapping. Whenever they force assimilation upon you, they kidnap you using technology. And then they started using my extra dimensions as a torture device. So because of this entanglement property, they can take extra dimensional biology to a remote location, to one of their facilities, and then do things to it like put worms in it or stick foreign objects inside of it or torture devices inside of it or put chemicals on it or drop it in acid or lock or dropping it through space-time, which they can put a hole in space-time and push your biology out of it. And as it falls through space-time, the friction of that space-time burns your skin. As you fall, friction builds up from the space-time you're falling through. It's like you're falling through a fluid or a liquid, and it burns. So they started doing this to my body. And then they started doing things to it, like locking it out of entropy. That they call locking it out of entropy, which I still don't completely understand. But it keeps them from accessing that biology anymore. It keeps them from getting it back. So they can do things to it like hurt it, fill it full of torture devices and parasites and stuff, and then lock it out of entropy or drop it through space-time, and you can't get that biology back. So you can fix it, so it can be repaired. So here I am at the end of this. They removed over 90% of my extra dimensional biology, and they have destroyed the remaining 10% of my extra dimensional biology. I am on life support. I am weak. I'm dizzy. I'm lethargic. I get nauseous a lot. I'm in pain. I have brain fog. I'm sick. We don't function properly if we are missing extra dimensional biology. We need that biology to function properly, to think clearly, to think properly, to feel good. We need our extra dimensional biology to process energy, to eat, to consume, to process food properly, to feel our nervous system properly. And they do things. See, another heavenly ability, or another ability we gain in the afterlife, is the ability to peer into the human biology or into a biology and to see it function properly. They can see matter in biologies and chemistry and physics. They can see our biology's functioning on an atomic level, down to the atoms, or at least the molecular level. They can see our brain and central nervous system lighting up with energy. They can see the energy flowing through us. They can see electricity. They can see fluids flowing through us, water and blood and lymphatic fluids and hormones and even neurochemicals. So they use this ability to look at my biology, and anywhere I'm functioning, they assault it. They like to assault nervous tissue and neurons and blood vessels. They destroyed my neurons. So they got down on a molecular level and took neurons out of my head because I was sleeping. They don't want me to succeed in any way. They are jealous and petty and greedy, and they want to keep me down so I don't fight back or so I don't function properly. It makes them happy to see me suffer. They destroyed my neurons. They took my neuron body off, and then we have extra dimensional biology attached to our neurons. So our neurons get very big in the extra dimensions. We have extra dimensional tissues attached to our neurons with extra dimensional cellular tissue. They cleaned all of that out. They ripped my neurons to pieces. One morning I woke up and they had a hole inside of my neuron, and this alien had his finger buried inside of that neuron, and it was causing me pain. I woke up freaking out, and they showed it to me in my mind. So I guess I have to mention that this telepathy also comes with a digital screen they insert inside of your brain. It merges or interfaces with our visual cortex, sits in front of our thalamus at the back of our frontal lobe, and we can see this screen lighting up on the inside of our brain. So they use this in the digital landscape to interact with each other, to communicate with each other, to show each other things, and so you can see each other. And they also use it to see their upper dimensions, to drive their aliens and their surrogates. So they use this telepathy and this digital screen to harass me. They harass me constantly. They berate me. They say I kill kids. That's their favorite saying. They say, well, you killed a kid, so we can do whatever we want to you, which is a lie. Someone in the military has murdered someone, and they are trying to blame this on me. It was supposed to be a setup. Nothing ever came to light. I have no idea what's going on. Either that something really happened, or they are trying to, or it's fake, and they are trying to just use it as an excuse to do this to me. Yes, they're trying to come up with a false narrative which says that I've done something wrong that somehow justifies their criminal behavior against me. And that's what Scientologists do. If you have something they want, or if they don't like you, they take it from you, or they murder you, torture you, make your life a living hell, and then they blame it on you. They victim shame. They have assaulted my brain tissue because when I sleep, they don't want me to sleep well or feel good when I sleep. They don't want me to feel any kind of pleasure at all. So they assaulted brain tissue to ensure that I don't sleep anymore. So I don't sleep anymore. I barely daze off whenever I lay down at nighttime. And then they have technology in my brain which forces me to lucid dream. So they force me into this digital landscape as I sleep, and they control the environment. Sometimes it's a pleasurable experience. Uh, like I go to restaurants. Last night I had an okay experience. Uh, I went to a restaurant and got to eat something and had a sexual experience. So they do that for me when I sleep. But sometimes they torture me in my sleep. They force me to fight people. They force me to have intercourse with family members, such as my mother and my sister, in my dreams. They make me fear for my life in my sleep. They torture me. Sometimes they feed me something and it's a toxic, so I start suffering in my sleep and I feel pain and sickness and dysfunction and fear. And I've been lucid dreaming for like the past 10 years. Shortly after assimilation, I started having dreams of aliens. I started seeing aliens, lizard people, Anunnakis, big white humanoids that look just like humans in the upper dimensions. And I have been an alien on several occasions, but not for long. So they assimilated me and they turned my extra dimensions into an alien form, a biology in which I could drive, and they let me drive for a few seconds while they mutilated me to death on my alien. So they put me in my alien, they let me drive it for a few seconds, and then they cut me to pieces. They tortured me to death on my alien. That's the only reason they woke me up, so I would experience it, and then they would kill me on it. And this has turned into a snuff film for them. First off, they want to keep me down. They don't want me to succeed. They are petty and jealous and greedy and irritable, psychotic and delusional. They have toxic masculinity and they are experiencing something akin to roid rage. They want to keep me down. It's like a man with toxic masculinity assaulting his victims. They try to take out the competition. They don't want to see people succeed, and rich people don't want to see people succeed. And these Scientologists are run. They have a rampant psychological issues about other people succeeding and having their own biologies. And they see body parts as commodities, something that could be utilized uh, in their alien making process, in their surrogate making process, or something that can be utilized to control a person or to hurt a person. So, say you don't like somebody, you could take a body part from them and use it to really harm that person, make that person sick, or even murder that person. Or you could read their thoughts, see what their plans are. And they are making a snuff film with my biology. So they're using this hive mind technology, the sensory perception recording technology, to read my mind, to see into my environment. And they are doing this to all of the people involved. They are recording the information and using it to make a snuff film. And then they are even modifying the information or the footage or the information and trying to make it look like I've done something wrong, that I've had bad thoughts, or that I have done something wrong in the past, and it's somehow justifying their criminal behavior against me. To them, their narrative is that they are punishing me for doing something wrong, and they are going to kill me to keep me from acting out on what they have done to me. See, they have shown me or sent local police officers and military members. I guess they're surrogates, or even these people may be local police and military, but they brought them to my house and used these biologies, these aliens that look like the military and the police, to assault me and my pets and my family. And they done horrible things to us. And they did it to the point where I started getting these ideas that if I'm going to survive, or that if I'm going to save my babies and my family from going to hell in the afterlife, that I'm going to have to fight back somehow. So I started getting these visions of me fighting back against the military and the police, and they are using that information against me. They're saying, well, he was going to do something, he was going to go postal, or he was going to do something wrong to our government. So we're doing right. We're torturing him. We're going to keep him down, and we're not going to let him succeed, and we're going to kill him to keep him from doing anything about it. That's part of their narrative. And then they're saying I've killed somebody, that I've killed a kid, which is a lie. From the information that I've gathered, from what the hive mind has told me, from what they've told me, and from what other people have told me, someone in the military murdered a few people and tried to blame it on me. And they are premeditating my death. So the cult-like behavior and religious zealotism is also rampant among these people. To them, this is a religious martyrdom, that they are somehow justified doing this to me because of religious reasons. And which gets me to my last point. The reason why this has become a religious martyrdom to a lot of people, from from some people's perspective, which is actually not, they just like to torture people to death, is they can control time. They can time travel. So time is not actually just a linear event. Time is also a simultaneous event. That means the past, the present, and the future is all happening at the same time. The beginning of the universe and the end of the universe happens simultaneously. It happens at the same time. And these aliens can interact with the universe in using this perspective, or this anomaly of our universe. So in this very moment, I'm being born. In this very moment, I'm being named Christopher in the hospital. In this very moment, ancient humans are starting to see into the afterlife. They see Anunnakis and lizard people in the afterlife, and aliens and insectoids, especially ancient Sumerians, Egyptians, and Native Americans, Mayans, uh, the Nazi or Nuzi people, Lakota people, Hopi people. A lot of these ancient peoples seen into the afterlife. So in this very moment, or sometime in the past, or sometime in the future, uh, people in the afterlife, aliens, are interacting with ancient peoples. So in this very moment, ancient people are also starting to hear voices and seeing giant humans in the sky, telling them to worship this Christ that's going to get martyred. And they're telling them to worship this idea that he's going to save the world, save all the people on Earth, save all life on the planet. So when the time comes and this event happens to me, they're going to try to sell this off to the public as a Christian martyrdom, and they say it was supposed to happen. So people accept this idea, adding to this false narrative, somehow justifying their criminal behavior against me. So they can time travel. And in this very moment, they are sitting in the future at a court hearing, trying to get off of torture and murder and rape and mutilation and biological theft and intellectual property theft. They're trying to set themselves up in the future using this time travel, which now has become apparent to me what they're trying to do to me. They torture me, keep me down. They're trying to make me act out or have bad thoughts, or even go postal and hurt some people to try to somehow justify their criminal behavior against me. Or they're trying to get me to commit suicide and do away with the problem altogether. And lastly, I'll talk about conditioning. Why this is happening. First off, these people are conditioned to remove body parts from organisms, especially humans. They cut body parts off of humans for a living. It's all they do for a living. They are conditioned to do this. If you know anything about conditioning, all of our past experiences dictate our behavior. So if I've spent my life cutting off body parts off of people, and in the future I'm presented with a problem, that is how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to remove biology from these people because that is what I'm conditioned to do. And this is how they handle their problems. If they had done something wrong and there's a criminal investigation against them, they use their conditioning to assimilate people, to steal body parts from people, to read people's thoughts, invade privacy, to make people sick, to murder people. They are conditioned to do this. So whenever they are addressing me, their interactions with me, they're using this conditioning to steal body parts. They covet my biology. It started out, they tried to harness my intelligence, my ability to create, to produce intellectual content, and my ability to function as well as I did. They tried to harness this ability and give it to themselves. So they use my extra dimensions as transplants for themselves and for surrogates they're making. And then it turned into a snuff film, a torture fest, where they started assaulting my extra dimensions and keeping me sick. And then secondly, this technology is having a narcotic-like effect upon these people. It's elevating dopamine and norepinephrine and serotonin, which leads to irritability and psychosis and delusions. They are quick to become violent. Uh, it exacerbates normal human tendencies or normal human psychology, such as pettiness, jealousy, greed, toxic masculinity. It elevates all of these human personality traits, or just emotions and thought patterns. It elevates all of these issues within these people, and they are committing criminal activity anyways. So now they are mad about it, and they are scared they're going to get caught, and they're scared something's going bad is going to happen to them. I am sick. I'm dizzy, weak. I'm in pain. I'm lethargic, nauseous. My brain don't function properly anymore. Neither does my organs. I am sick. I need this to stop. I've contacted the CIA, the FBI, the military, and even local police, filed reports about them torturing me, driving worms through me, stealing biology, and then they're trying to steal my intellectual property. So, lastly, let me discuss my intellectual property. So, I'm an author. I write literature and come up with ideas. My Native American name is Crazy Bird. I had a vision into the spirit world and seeing the thunder beings were acting crazy, or the Thunderbirds were acting crazy. So I named myself Crazy Bird. I wrote Crazy Bird comics. It's about Crazy Bird. I have several versions of this story. One, he's a cyborg because I once had, because of all this digital technology, uh, I tried to make light of it and say, okay, now he's a cyborg. But I say he got hurt in the military, participated in the military, and got hurt, and they fixed him back up with technology, and he uses this technology. He has cyborg animal companions like a cyborg hawk, a cyborg horse, cyborg wolves, a cyborg bear to come fight by his side. That's one version of it. Another version, he's magical. He can control the weather. And then another version, he's just a scientist and a politician and a philosopher and a teacher that's just trying to save the planet using technology and science. And then there's Thunder Beings, which are about people that are Thunder Beings. I haven't wrote much into that story, or that comic book. And then there's Buffalo Bob. It's about Crazy Bird. During the later part of his life, he gets a name change. They name him Robert Tatanka or Buffalo Bob. And he's a philosopher and a teacher, or maybe a politician. It's just an idea that I had. And then I wrote the Environment Creation Agency, where it's an idea, and it comes with a lot of literature. It's about a government agency that replaces the Federal Reserve. So it moves the Federal Reserve into our government, our system of government, and it turns it into an agency. It is a science council. It is a council made up of cabinets that pertain to each aspect of our reality. Say there's a cabinet for housing, a cabinet for education, a cabinet for healthcare, a cabinet for nutrition, a cabinet for agriculture, a cabinet for Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, a cabinet for transportation, a cabinet for communication. And these cabinets approve the spending of another one of my inventions, which is Buffalo Dollars. It's a currency that can only be spent on approved products and services. These products and services have to meet requirements. They have to be state of the art, mil spec, the best we can possibly produce. Like our houses have to be smart houses. They have to have smart appliances, like a big computer screen built into the wall that allows you to communicate with the ECA and other people, and it acts as a mainframe or a command center for the rest of your house, which is going to have an AI, an artificial intelligence, that helps you control your appliances and it helps you live your life. So that's just one idea in housing. Everybody gets a smart house. So companies can compete uh, to get their products and services approved under the ECA. So the ECA is made up of cabinet members, scientists, and scholars, and people that are professionals in their field of study. They have to have a high IQ and a high morality. So there are IQ and morality requirements for these people. So once a product or service is approved and a transaction occurs, Buffalo Dollars convert into normal currency that can be spent on anything within the law. So this is trickle up economics. It allows the money in our economy to come from the bottom up. So we take care of people and other life on this planet, and that's how we make money in the future. So if if your products or services get approved, everyone in the world gets this approved products and services. Say everyone in the world gets a house in the future, a smart house. Everyone gets a very high tech communication device, a cell phone. They last 10 years. Everyone gets state of the art healthcare, and everyone gets highly nutritional food. So that's the ECA and Buffalo Dollars. Also wrote Space Bob, Bug Bob, Alien Bob, which is about helping life on this planet evolve into a spacefaring species. So, in order to survive in outer space and to colonize other planets, life on Earth will have to evolve into a different organism. So, in order to survive flying in outer space or living in outer space for so long without sunlight, low nutrition, we need to evolve certain traits, or maybe another organism, such as a reptile or maybe an insect, will be better suited to survive space travel and colonize other planets. So it's about helping life on Earth evolve into a spacefaring and other world colonizing uh, organisms. And then I wrote Jewelcraft, which is about in the beginning of the universe, before life existed, the universe was full of elementals of that referenced each aspect of our elements and life. So there's an elemental for fire, wind, water, earth, and these elementals had great battles, and uh, but they left behind after the battles was over and all the elementals were gone. They left behind essences that hardened into gemstones, crystals, and gemstones. And then it's like an elvish and dwarf type story. It's like a magical fantasy type story. And these elves and dwarves and gnomes and orcs and uh, humans, they would dig up these gemstones and then make tools and weapons out of these gemstones. So I call it jewel craft. This is just some of my intellectual property that these people are trying to steal. Also started writing the book of Christopher. So there are blank pages in the back of a Bible. Everybody gets a testimony, notes, or you could even write a whole new book back there if you wanted to. And I was going to write a book that goes in the back of my Bible, and it could even be a book in the Bible one day that discussed the afterlife and all the organisms in our universe. And they're trying to steal that from me also, because I have knowledge of the afterlife and outer space and the heavens, what goes on there and what it is, and about the laws and the sciences and the secrets of our universe. And that was going to go in there too. So these people are trying to torture me to death. They're trying to steal my identity. They're going to try to create a look-alike. This is also part of what they told me. And then file a lawsuit against the government and make money that way. And then they're going to try to steal my intellectual property. They're talking about breaking into my house and stealing my belongings. And then get off the hook for it with some Scientologist in the Department of Justice or the CIA or the military or somebody. They're going to try to hold a private or a confidential court hearing to somehow get themselves off the hook for it. They're going to present falsifying evidence to the court that says that I've done something wrong to somehow justify their torture and their rape and mutilation and dissection and biological theft and forced assimilation and their experimentation. They're going to try to justify all this within the court of law and get away with it. These are humans on Earth doing this to me. Call it whatever you will. It's Scientology, deep state, surrogates. So Scientology has been around since the 60s. And ever since the 80s, they started trying to take over the world. Forced assimilation, surrogate making. So they have a lot of surrogates in our government. Politicians and federal agents and even military personnel. I need help. I need to locate the drivers of these aliens. I need to locate their third dimensions and bring them to justice. I need to make them stop doing this to me. They need to go to jail. They need to get their gear removed. And some of them even need to face punishment. Some of them even need to get the death penalty. They need to be removed from society because they are that dangerous and they have done that much harm to other people and to our society. I need help finding these people and making them stop.